All right. Well, I have Karen B here. I'm going to let her say the last name because it is a mouthful for sure. Um, hey, Karen. So, welcome to Midlife Women Entrepreneurs. I am really excited to have you here today. When we jumped on a pre call, well, actually, we met through the podcast. We jumped onto this pre call. I thought there were so many things about your past life and kind of the things that you're doing now that were parallel to kind of what I'm doing. And I thought, oh my God, you're going to be totally relatable on this podcast. So, without further ado, I am going to just hand over the floor over to you. Give us yourself a bit of a background and a little bit of a story,
Sure. Well,
and we'll jump right into it.
thank you for having me so much, Lynette.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be here. Yeah, so I'm really passionate about helping women get to the next stage of their life, no matter what age they are. And so I've always been very passionate about women in general. And so at a very young age, I'm one of five children, and I
Okay.
have two brothers, one in front of me and one behind me, very close in age. And I think like I love my family, love my siblings. I think, but through the ages, when I got to be about 7 or 8, something changed in me where I felt like I was kind of invisible. So I felt like, I wasn't seen, heard, and I took that story to say that I didn't matter. And so, interesting enough, I kind of like lived that life. So when I left the home, right, because if anyone on the call knows anything about the brain or the mind, basically, all we come into this world as precious babies, and somewhere along the line, we decide we're not precious anymore. Between all the accumulation of hurts and all the other people's voices that are like programming us on how we're supposed to act and feel and breathe and blah 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 blah, we become these people that when we leave the home, like we don't really know who we are anymore. If we were really to sit down with ourselves and go, yeah, that's all great, but like some of that stuff doesn't really resonate with me, and I need to figure out who I am now, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I left at 18 years old on my own, so it was a little rough. However, um, so I got, I am a mom of three. My oldest is 37. I have a 32-year-old, 37 girl, 32-year-old boy, and a 25-year-old girl. She just turned 25, so I have to remember these ages. Now that I'm like in my 60s, it's hard to remember
Okay,
things.
and I'm just going to stop you right there. I know this is probably not appropriate, but I just want to say when I found out you were in your 60s, I was like, wait, what? So if you're actually listening to this podcast, you can flip over to the YouTube channel and take a quick look see because this woman is
Yeah.
beautiful. So yeah,
Well,
you've
thank
aged
you. But
quite
I have
nicely.
grandchildren. They keep me very young when you got to get on the ground and play
Yes,
with them, right? So,
exactly.
yeah. So anyway, I went into the adult world. I've been divorced twice. I've now been single for 26 years, and in about 2010, I just kind of got sick of me. I just got like, I don't know what's going on. I keep picking the same guys, or they keep picking me, and I just had this mundane life that I was with three young children at the age of like 1, 5, and 9, and it was just the same old. And I felt like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted in life, and I literally just decided. Somebody asked me to take a class, an awareness class. And I literally just said yes, because I was just like, I was just done. Right. And so I literally took myself on for 4 months. I took the first class and I became aware of how I was playing life and where I was really stuck and the messages that I was like in my head versus what I wanted, which was a conflict. Right. So I was learning about my true essence, who I truly was through this class. And then I took that on emotionally and physically, and so I really got to like just literally fully embrace the whole experience. And I came out of there going, wow, like, wow. I got so much stuff done in like this 90-day program that I was like, I want to help other people do that. Now that I know what's possible, and I know that in uncertainty, which was where I was, not certain of my future, that there's so many possibilities. And I got to see that for real played out in my own life. And so that's why I wanted to start this work. So I was a coach for that organization for 10 years. And then I was also a coach in sales because I have a mortgage business as well, um, for another 10 years. And I realized that those two organizations don't really do the other. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to help
Mortgages
women
and yeah,
entrepreneurs. Yeah. Well, not
yeah,
mortgages, just coaching sales. And so I
yeah.
really wanted to find a way to bring those two worlds together. And so that's when I decided to quit my job and just started my own coaching business and doing those two things. Right.
Wow.
Um, and so that's kind of how it started. And
Yeah,
here we
no,
are,
no.
right?
That sounds
Mhm.
good. So there's lots of things that you said there too. So growing up, you said you didn't really feel heard, uh, completely on the other side of the fence, picking the wrong guys for so many years, and then this awareness of self. And so I want to go back to that didn't feel heard because I think that we all kind of at some point in our lives feel that way. And so what does that do to us? Like, what are your thoughts when somebody says, I don't really feel heard? Like, what does that do for our self-esteem? How do you handle that feeling, I guess?
Yeah. So as small children, we all want to be, heard, held, and seen, basically, right? So you want to have value. And so, if I have had that off and on, but there was a lot of trauma, unbeknownst to my parents. It's just things that happened in my life. And so I had this thing where I had it for a moment, then I didn't have it, I had it, I didn't have it. And so, but it always went away. And so the story that I brought forward in my adult life was that, I'm alone, I don't matter, basically, right? And I got to do it all myself or it won't get done. And
Right.
so I brought this into my adult life, and that's how I've been living. And so I lived my life pretty isolated with me and just the children. I moved away from family because I got married. And so I didn't have any help with the kids. And so when I got divorced, I was again alone, right?
Yeah.
And, isolating myself. And so what happens is, we have these programs in our subconscious mind from when we're younger. And we have patterns that we just bring into the adult world, and at some point in time you realize that these aren't working for us, but we really don't know what to do with this, so we kind of get stuck, like, well, this is my life, right? Some people say, it's too good to be true. So when I hear that kind of stuff, and I'm like, well, what happened that made you think that way, right? So if we go back into someone's childhood, we'll find out where that message came from. And so, but what happens is they take that message into their adult world, and then they say, um, well, if it's too good to be true, then things won't work out for me. So
Hmm.
now we're playing with things don't work out with me. So if we're thinking that, right? Because how the mind works is you think something and then you end up you feel it and then you behave and you get your outcome. So if we're really
Yeah.
thinking that, right, then that's what we're attracting in our lives because that's what we're focused on. There's
Yeah.
a Shakespeare quote that says, nothing is neither good nor bad, only thinking makes it so.
Oh, I know. I know. I'm doing a lot of work around energy now and quantum timeline
I love
jumping and
that.
things like that. And everything you just said there, like, is just so on point for what that is. Really, it's like your subconscious mind creates your reality, and what you feed it, it sits in your subconscious, and you'll miss opportunities. If you think that you lack in a certain area, you will lack in that area. And it's really interesting how you shift your frequency and that energy. So let's go to mortgages and mindset. So, what was it like? I know, so you said you've been divorced a couple of times now, and you just said, something's got to give. So, like, what was that moment where you thought, okay, I am going to rewrite this next chapter, this next book, I guess, of my life, that made you go, I've got to hone in on this, because you had this aha moment and then you realized it was probably going to help other women too.
Yeah. So because I had coached for 10 years, I found women really being able to um, build a community of like kind women that gave a safe space to be heard, to
Yeah.
really listen and be heard and be authentic and true, which is why I have a passion for coaching women, because I
Yeah.
think we have the capacity to really have empathy and compassion for one another. And, not saying anything bad about men, but like they just want to fix things, right? They just, what we need is just somebody to just hear us and just see us and just let us speak, right? And so I found that. And so my, transformation was just through this class that I took, really looking at every way that I played life. Like, for instance, if I wanted something, I was really committed to it. I was able to do an exercise to see how bad I wanted it. So if I had a relationship with my word and I said that's what I was committed to, And then I had someone in the class that said, well, why are you standing here if that's what you want? Like, how bad do you want that? Right. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, that's bullshit thinking, excuse my language. And I just like went for it. Right. And I went and I got it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's clear intention, right? The commitment. And so that was one thing. Another thing that I, like found out about myself is like to really sit across from somebody, like really sit across from somebody and somebody ask me how I felt love.
Yeah.
Like I really didn't know. I knew how I didn't feel love from a
Yeah.
childhood because I,
Yeah.
thinking back, I had evidence, right? And so to really hone in and go, wow, I really need to think about that, right? So of course I cried and I did all these things because I was all the loss that I had, right, and all the things of not feeling it. But like to really be able to relate and go, oh, you know what? I'm rewiring my brain now, you know, to go, well, that was that, and I have evidence from my past, but that's not truth today. Because if I look at today, I do have lots of people that love me, and I have lots of people that see me, and I have lots of people that hear me, and I actually get to help them. So I do matter. And so all
Hmm.
these messages I had that I was taking into the world, and I was attracting these people that weren't right for me, I wasn't healed from that. And so that's why people and circumstances will come into your life where you're not healed, right? And so once those people started leaving, I was like, at first I was hurt, just like a divorce. I'm hurt and I'm sad and all these things, right? But then I thought to myself, well, it's kind of a gift because now I get to like look at me and like see how I want to play life without any distraction, right?
Hmm.
And just coming from a place of love for me and my kids. And so I think that's what I really hold as space for women to have a safe container to really be who they want to be and what they want to design with nobody telling them that they can't.
Okay, so you said a lot of things there. Earlier on, you said that you were focused on this awareness of self, and I don't know what happened. Like it just triggered this playing small. I think that as women, we often play
Yeah.
small, but I think it is because we hold on to these past hurts or whatever. And my question, I think, is, do you really think you have to be healed before you don't play small anymore?
I don't think it's so much healing. I think it's just being free. I think it's just realizing the lies that we tell ourselves, right? And awareness of the patterns that we're playing that aren't serving us, right?
Right.
And just break free from that. It's not, I wouldn't call it healing. I said heal, but I really think it's just breaking free from it because if those aren't truths anymore and they're
Hmm.
lies from our past, right? Then the truth is the truth. If that's not true, right? And the truth is I am loved. I'm not alone, right? I do
Yeah.
matter, right? Then I can like really release that exhaustion and running around and being busy and all the things that I do as a woman trying to like make myself loved, heard, seen, matter, worthy, right? It's
Right.
exhausting. And so
Yeah.
if I can just look at a woman and go, okay, so I can see all the accumulation of hurts. I can see it all, right? But what would it feel like if you really
Mm.
stood in your truth that you are loved and you're seen and heard and held and it's safe?
Yeah. No,
And then
okay.
you
And
could just see women just release their nervous system and just really relax. And I'm like, that's the place where I go, okay, so now give me a word from what you feel now. And they'll use words like light, free. One
yeah.
person said, I can fly, I mean, all these
Yeah.
different words. Like, that's what we want to experience the feeling of what that feels like, and then to practice
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that because this year's been sort of this, like, my keyword was like untethered. So that's been my word. And when you talk about, earlier you said, you had to do it yourself or it won't get done. Well, that's very masculine energy. But often as single moms and as women, and we often E-type women, we tend to do everything, right? Because we just do. That's just how we roll. And so my sort of January 2025 mantra is like, okay, I'm going to kind of shift from that masculine energy first to feminine energy first, still using my masculine to push forward. So, but it's like, part of me, when I started to dive deeper into that, okay, well, how do I sort of start to lead with my heart? How do I know that I'm loved and all that kind of stuff? I started to go down this path of inner child. And I was just like, honestly, I don't want to go there. I don't remember half of it anyway. Why am I dredging up things from the past in the first place? When quite honestly, I just want to, as you say, be set free now and continue to move my life forward. And I think sometimes, well, I guess my question is, do you find that when you're working with some of these women in your coaching practice that they just want to like fix all of that first and they can never let go and get that freedom without it, kind of thing?
I do have some women that are pretty hard, really hard. I don't know how to call it, hard end, and it takes a long time for them to let go. But we're not focused on a problem. It's not a problem, so we don't have problems, right? Unless we say they're
Mhm.
problems, right? So it's just looking back and going, okay, like so. When did that first happen to you? When do you remember that? It's kind of like if a child goes on stage and their mom or somebody tells them that, you know what, they messed up or they should never be on stage. And then they have to be a speaker someday in their future life. Or let's just say now,
Mhm.
right? Like, let's just say I was that person, right? And I had that. And now I have to go speak on stage. Like, I am going to come up with all these things that go, oh my God, no, 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 I can't speak on stage. I was told that I was terrible on stage. Or if you want to be a singer and you were told you were a bad singer when you were a kid, now you have a narrative that says you're a bad singer, you're not going to sing, right? Or you're not going to like present, right? You're going to steer clear, right? So, and we carry those things forward. And so basically, it's like if I can take someone and go, okay, well, okay, so tell me about that. When do you remember that happening first? And they go back and I'm like, but you were like 12 years old then, right? Okay, so, but now you're 40. So that was like 30 years ago, right? So is that true today? Like you could go get, if you want to sing, you can go get a singing coach, right? You can go do
Yeah.
anything, right? And get better. And how do you know you can't sing, right? So I think you just have to be really careful that we don't like take those things that aren't truths today, right? And you bring all that stuff forward. And that's pretty much why I presented the pause method because it really works, right? It really works to break things down and change things. It's kind of like, for, alcoholics, right? If the first step is to go to a rehab, right? Well, that's just the first step to be aware
Yeah.
and to go through that treatment. But once you come out, the real work starts, right?
The integration. Exactly.
Yes, the
The how do
real
you
work
integrate
starts
that?
out in
Yeah,
the
I know.
real world. It's
Yeah.
it's like those reality TV shows, right? Like they have all
Yeah.
this fluff and they get out in the real world and it never works, right? Because well they had all
Yeah.
this, it was like fake, it wasn't real, you know.
Exactly. So let's
So
dive into that pause method because
okay.
I do have some questions for you. Like, you do have retreats, you offer retreats, and we'll get into that conversation a little bit later. But just even what you were just saying there, like, how do you take the coaching and the things that you are doing with these women and how do you ensure that they are integrating it into their life after? It's easy when, or easier when you're connecting with somebody and you're in this group and you're at a retreat and everything feels great, but it's the
Yeah.
integration that is the hard part. So talk a little bit about the pause method and talk a little bit about what happens in your retreats and then the integration part of it.
Yeah, of course. So the pause method, I made an acronym, called an acronym, right? Is I'm saying that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That like so the P, right, in pause stands for like pattern recognition to really like be aware of what's happening. And so what I do is, it's really taking people from a subconscious belief, which is their default reaction, and just bringing it to current experience, right? So we're taking the subconscious mindset, we're teaching them a subconscious mindset and bringing it forward into conscious mind. Once you're aware of it, you really can't throw it back in your subconscious, right? It's there. So when something comes up, it's kind of like, oof, there it is again, right? Now you need to figure out what you're going to do with it, right? So the question I ask is, what story am I telling myself right now? And is it rooted in truth or is it rooted in past conditioning, right? And so that's just the first step. The second step is just to acknowledge and accept it. Okay. So a lot of times what I do is I take people through a timeline where they actually like just remember, no judgment at all, no opinions, just make it a fun exercise to go through a timeline and just remember everything that ever happened as far back as you can remember. Good, bad, indifferent, no opinions. Just write it down, make it colorful, play some kid music. I don't know, some funky music that keeps you happy, right? And just write it down. So then we can look at it and go, where are the patterns, right? Because you got to identify where the patterns are, right? And so that timeline really
Yeah.
helps. Okay.
Yeah.
And so just really fully accepting this acceptance of what happened without resistance or judgment. It was what it was. It happened the way it happened. It couldn't have happened any other way because it really didn't, right? Right. And so if you really believe that everything is happening for us in this universe and not against us, then all those little things, and I'm not saying that bad things didn't happen, bad things happened to me as well, but all those little things are lining up to help us for our future self. Okay. And so that's where you actually get to really start shifting the perspective, right? Like the way that you perceive yourself, right? Because if you're perceiving yourself in current today based on what happened before, then that's really not true. And now we need to deal with what's truth, right?
Yeah.
And so then we get to unwind and untangle it and understand it. And so I start to ask them, here's where we're going to separate fact from fiction, right? So what is the belief? What if this belief isn't true? What would life look like?
Yeah.
Right? And that's a big question. If it's not true, I mean, a lot of my, I'm like, I don't know. I seriously don't know. I haven't lived any other way. It's like I have always give this example of like being dehydrated. I didn't drink water hardly ever for the longest time, years and years and years. So my normal was to be dehydrated all the time. I didn't know any different. I didn't even know I was dehydrated. But
Yeah.
now that I'm healthier, right, and I'm living a very healthy life and I'm drinking water all the time, right, now I know what it feels like to be hydrated. So then when I get sick or something and I don't hydrate myself, I'm like, woof, I know what's wrong. I need a bottle of water. But
And
see, it
it's
became
interesting.
normal.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I love that understanding your patterns because I think often we don't even know what we're doing, really. It's always
Nope.
easier, right? I can always tell you what's wrong with my girlfriend or my my family members or whatever. But do you think I do that? And it's true. Like it's the understanding those patterns, I think is the biggest part of it. So that's kind of what you're saying is once you get it,
Yeah.
oh, that's how I am? Got it. Now, and sometimes it's like you said, you never knew you were dehydrated
Yeah.
in its simplest form,
Yeah, and I would say another way to look at it is that you get triggered by something, even like your girlfriend or family member or something, and then you react, and you're like, well, there's a gap. There's a gap between the trigger and the reaction, right? And that's where we get to explore and like, why am I so upset,
Yeah.
right? So that's the part where we get to start the work, right? So,
Yeah.
but if you can just allow people to be who they are and just come from a loving standpoint because we haven't walked in their shoes. I mean, a lot of time it's generational stuff that's just been handed down, handed down, handed down and until you break that generational thing,
Yeah.
right? Now that I know, like my mom, right? She was an only child. Like her mom did things, right? And I know some of it, but like now I can see like why she is the way she is,
Mhm.
right? And so then we have some friction, and I'm like, I no longer have to react to that friction because that's just who she is. But it doesn't need to like hurt me anymore. Now
Yeah.
that I know
No,
who I
that's
am,
great. Yeah. No, that's
I can
good.
just come from, okay, that's who you are and I'm just going to be free from whatever that is because I know who I am and I don't need to take that on. It's not me, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's that trigger to the upsetness, right? And
Yeah.
then we get to like
So
explore in there.
exactly. So that's the P. Understand the patterns.
Yeah, the P, we went through the PH and the PA and the U, the unwind, untangled,
Okay.
understand.
Oh,
So,
okay, 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 okay. Thank you.
yeah, and so the question is, what is the situation trying to teach me?
Right.
Okay, so that's the question. So then if you go to the S, it's for shifting and changing the narrative, right? Telling yourself a new story. Because now we understand that the story you've been telling yourself is really a lie that you've brought from past conditioning forward from your subconscious mind that's trying to keep you in survival mode because we've created and manipulated the world to try to get love outside of ourselves and like know that we're worthy from outside of ourselves when really it's all inside of us, right? So we get to shift, right? And so if we reframe the old belief into an empowering truth today, that's a totally different world we live in
Right.
because we don't need to have those things come forward. Okay.
So
So
that
it's,
shift, so what's happening in that shift stage is that you're recognizing your inner critic, really. I like to call it the
yeah.
gremlin. That's what I call it. It's my gremlin. It's that thing that's there. Well, it's her name is Astar. And
Oh, I like
Astar, Astar likes to keep me safe. And it's usually in
Mm,
the form
mhm,
of self-sabotage. No,
mhm.
whoa, hold on. It's going to be way too much work if you keep going down this path and actually be successful there. It's going to be way too much work. So self-sabotage. So that's kind of what you're saying is you're recognizing through the P, A, and the U that what those little crazy things are what that sort of inner voice is saying to you, these patterns that occur when it's all kind of cut, when you're
Yeah.
thinking, your subconscious mind is controlling you. And so then you're shifting intentionally to say no, not today, so to speak.
Right. Because you have a reaction, it's really being pulled from the past.
Right.
It's just some place that you're
Of
not free yet.
course.
You know what I
Of
mean?
course. Yeah, that's really
So,
good. I like that.
yeah,
Wait, hold on. So it's just somewhere you're not free yet. I like that. That's an aha for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, just like, when I used to get upset with my mom, right? I mean, moms and daughters fight
Hmm.
all the time, right? From what I
Yeah.
that was my story, right? But I mean, I
Oh,
don't
I
really need to
know.
fight with her. So I think the question is like, if I were already really free and already whole and worthy, how would you show up?
Wow. Yeah, for sure. That's a good question to ask yourself.
Then you can start rewriting your narrative, and pivot
Yeah.
into the new possibilities. One of the quotes that I usually use is, in uncertainty, which everything is uncertain right after we get off this podcast, right? I don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen in 30 minutes from now.
Yeah.
There are so many
Exactly.
possibilities. And so when you think of fear, fear comes from the past forward because all we have is a history. But if you
Mhm.
really don't know what's going to happen in 30 minutes, then what is there to fear?
Right.
Like really, like I don't know. I mean, things happen and we just go with the flow. And if you really believe the universe are working for you, then like life already has it kind of planned out, right?
Yeah.
You know. So then that's the S, and then the E is just to embody and expand this, right? So it's a practice, right? You just need to embody the new belief, start taking aligned action, and that's literally what manifestation is,
Yeah.
right? Everybody thinks, well, we can just put a bunch of affirmations and we can say all this stuff. I'm like,
Create a
no, that
vision
doesn't work.
board.
That doesn't work, people. Like, you really need to like go through the process and like start living as if, right? And
You're
designing.
in
That's why
that
I said I
state.
love for women to design the next chapter, because now we can design that. And now we can
Yeah.
like move forward. And a lot of times I do have women in some of my retreats like paint a picture, a blank canvas, because I'm like, you have a complete blank canvas now.
Yeah.
Like, what is it you want to design from pure
Right.
possibility, right?
So what happens if somebody is completely stuck? Because I like that. Like live your life by design, not by default. And so, and if it's not just, oh, I'm just gonna write down a big wish list of things and then like have a
Yeah,
vision
that's the old
board
way.
and then, exactly.
That's
But
the old
so
way. That's the old
well,
way.
that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like what people thought, I think, and they didn't have to put any work to it.
And
But
it worked for some people, but
yeah, for sure.
they had some disciplines that made it work. Everybody doesn't work for everyone. It
Exactly.
didn't work for me.
Exactly. So what does designing really look like in practice? So like if I'm super stuck or I'm unsure of really kind of what I want to do, what I want, how do I design that future?
Well, a lot of the times, some of my coaching students, I do take them back. Like, tell me the things that you were really joyful and you loved as a little kid.
Right.
Like, you really loved. I have one person that we went back in time and she loved, loved, loved to perform and dance. And she stopped because someone told her that she needed to grow up. So growing
Oh,
up meant you can't dance anymore, right? She became a
oh,
mom and
that's
she just did all the responsible things. So I'm like, okay, so, and that brought you joy, and you could just see her light up, right? So when you see somebody's body language, right, just like, woo, and I'm like, okay, you need to sign up for a dance class. That's your challenge this
right.
week. And then they
Yeah,
actually
that's
get to
good.
feel it, right? They get to feel it. So if you're not experiencing it and feeling it, right, you're not going to have a change, right? You have to like go, wow. So that's why I do challenges and I don't some do homework and all this stuff that other people do. And I'm like, I want you to challenge. Go, I need to sign up for a class. Let's get it signed up. I want to make sure it's signed up by your next coaching session, right? Or I give them a time frame because they could do it
Yeah.
the very next day. um, but then if they don't do it, right, then we know we're stuck and then we have to unravel again. I'm like, okay, so not good, bad, or indifferent. It was a challenge that you opted into. So why didn't we do it? Sometimes it's like now we have to deal with what's your relationship to your word,
To your
or are you
worth?
coming your word, the word what you
Word. Yeah.
say,
Okay. Right.
right? Or um, you opted in, you don't want to do it. Like, what else got in the way? What was more important? What was the message you told yourself, right? And so then we just have to keep unraveling, right?
Or,
Unraveling, unraveling, unraveling.
so, for me, Karen, do you know what I think it was for me? Why I don't do things for myself a lot of the time is because I literally, well, it's probably not why I didn't do things for myself, but I think a lot of women have been operating from an empty cup for 100 years, like for as long as they have been in whatever
Primal.
kind of right. And
Mm-hmm.
so how does someone help, like how does someone recognize that I literally have been like, aha, just like you said, I didn't know I was dehydrated until somebody, until I realized I was dehydrated. And like I didn't know I was operating from an empty cup for 20 years while I was the single mom raising two kids, trying to keep my mortgage current and, keeping the contract or keeping my contract work up to speed and all that kind of stuff. I was just do it, do it, do it. It's like you said, do it myself or it won't get done. And so I was depleted probably for 20 years and I didn't really know that because I was just operating from this state
Yeah,
of
and I
normal.
did the same thing. So you and I are the two peas in a pod. I did that too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you help women recognize that? And how do you get them to start filling their cups back up? Because I'll tell you, it will happen with guilt if they do it at first, right? So how do you
Oh
do
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
without guilt?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's like, you've been on an airplane. Everybody pretty much has been on a plane, or they've heard the thing that says put your oxygen mask on first so you can
Yeah.
take care of your children or whoever it is, right? And it's so true because if you really think about it, like you're telling the story of it's pure exhaustion, like
Yeah.
pure exhaustion. Like, how does it feel as a woman to live from that?
Yeah.
Like, do you
Yeah.
really want to continue living that way?
No. 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 And
So you
I didn't even
really,
want to live that way when I was,
I know, but
but I
see, it's
just
already
thought,
happened, right? So, but
I
here's
know.
the deal: the fact that you don't want to do it anymore, right? Not saying you're doing it, you've gone past it or whatever, but let's just say
Yeah.
it's current. Is the first step. Like, remember I said I got sick of me.
Yeah.
I just
Right.
knew that I was sick of this. I just knew
Right.
something. Like
Yeah. No, that's
it's
good.
that like moment where you go, I don't want to do this anymore, right? And so, but then the next point is not to isolate yourself. So you just stay in that. It's literally to reach out to someone, right? Like
Hmm.
reach out to your journal, write it down, see what
Yeah.
you're writing, right? And like,
Yeah.
and then imagine what a life could look like, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of women just can't imagine that. Like I said earlier, they can't because it's so embedded them to do everything. They just don't see a way out. And so you really need a safe container, a safe space, like whether it's a girlfriend, a community, like, a coach, whatever, whoever it is, a podcast, it can be, um,
Mhm.
to really give you a safe space to start really reflecting and like start really diving deep and exploring. See, the thing is people have all this and they keep searching for things outside themselves. It's not outside of you. It's not
I
outside of you. It's all
know.
inside of you, right? To
You
learn to
know,
love and respect this, right? To really
yeah.
do the deep exploration and take a journey for you. Like, because
Yeah.
I promise you the other side is such an amazing place to live from.
Hmm.
It really is. And that's why I really encourage women to take a pause. My first pause was walking to the mailbox to get the mail. That was my first pause years ago, like
Yeah.
just to get a moment to myself,
Right.
and
So,
now, pauses are different for me. I just took a 4-month pause, right? for
Yeah,
myself.
that's
I've taken a
great.
year pause before. I mean, because I've set myself up to be able to do that as an entrepreneur, right? I now travel with my kids more. I'm very strategic in the time that I travel to make sure I see my kids more now than if I lived an hour and a half away from them. And
Yeah.
I live a 5-hour plane ride away from them.
Yeah, which I know you're about to jump on
I
to go
am.
visit them, correct? So, okay, so your coaching method, you really sort of built this organically. And I often say, like most successful women, when they've started a side hustle or a business, a full-time business, it's probably 90% of the time it's because they solved that problem for themselves first. So
Yes.
you built your coaching business organically through obviously your real life experiences. And so what are some of the lessons that you learned along the way about trying to build a business like that? And do you and are any of those lessons teachable for other women?
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, I'm helping somebody right now start their coaching business. A lot of people that I coach want to do a side hustle. I'm helping a gentleman right now, like go from working for a mortgage company to opening his own mortgage company, right? I think
Okay.
really everybody can do whatever they want. They just need a cheerleader and someone kind of to guide them a little bit, right? Because we get stuck with the doubt. I mean, I just had doubt the other day. I remember my first podcast that I did, it was horrible. And I remember getting feedback and going, oh my God, I'm not good at this. I'm never going to be on another podcast again.
Yeah.
Now that was just letting that feedback instead of just taking it as feedback and go, okay, I can fix these things, right? It was, but I didn't last long. It did
Yeah.
not last long. See, where before in my old ways, I would have let that suck in. I probably would have isolated myself. I would have done it. I would have felt so. I mean, I could go on and on and on, right? So we really just need people to help us. So it really is about women asking for help, right? Like
Right.
really just having a community or having somebody, a safe space again, which is why I create my retreats where it's just 15 women to have a safe container, right? To actually do that
Hmm.
work and transform themselves to start that next chapter. It's not
Right.
saying that you're going to alienate your family or any of that kind of stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about really getting in alignment with who true you are and what you want to move forward. Because you're going to ask yourself, okay, so it might even be a friend, right? I mean, I took a break from a lot of people that were in my life, and I've actually just left a lot of people that aren't in my life now because they're not in alignment with where I'm going,
Yeah, I know
right?
that's
I don't talk
that
to some of my
is
family members about certain things because they
yeah.
say things that are not in alignment. I don't let that in, right?
Yeah, no, that's
So
really
I'm
good.
very
That's good.
I'm very gentle with myself and very delicate about how much time I spend with certain people, right? Respectfully, I spend time, but not like loads of time, right?
Right.
So I'm just really aware.
You talked about isolation and you said it a couple of times throughout the podcast now. And I want you to talk a little bit, expand on that a little bit, because I even caught myself, won't get into the whole story, but I did catch myself isolating myself for a very long time, like 6 months, almost to a year. And what it was doing to my mental health was crazy. So what is it? Why do we do it? And like, how do we catch it so that we don't get to the state that perhaps I got myself into?
Um, well, I would say, okay, so if you're isolating yourself, like what's the message that you're telling yourself during that isolation?
I think it was just more, no, I don't feel like going out. No, I'm just
Like every
gonna,
day.
yeah, yeah.
But why did you not feel like what was on the outside that you were
I
feeling
don't know.
was
I think
keeping you isolated? Because it was something.
yeah, I don't know. I think it just got to a point where I became lonely where I was living. I had been living for the past 4 years in Mexico. I'd never do that again without a partner, or a friend group. I found it very difficult in the area I was living. I found it difficult to find the right community for me. And there's communities down there, but I couldn't find the right community for me. And often I would meet people and I felt like they were foreshadowing, if I don't get out of there, my life is going to look like theirs. And I don't want that. And so
Okay.
I don't know. I think I felt like I just started to just like I'd work, I'd go to the gym, and then it was just easy to kind of, I don't know, flop on the couch and watch Netflix. And then I just, oh, okay, whoa. And then, okay. And wow. Okay. I better
So
get
you had
out
a
of here
conflict with
before.
yourself, right? On
Yeah,
like what
exactly.
you were, your behaviors were, and that, but you knew there was something that, you knew you needed to get out of it, but like this
Yeah.
subconscious was stronger. So I would take you back
Yeah.
and go, tell me a time that you remember that happening, like in your
Yeah.
childhood, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But so when isolation occurs, what is it most often? What most
We're
often
just really
triggers that?
stuck. We're really stuck, and
Yeah,
those
we're really
messages are
stuck.
so, so deep that you really just, your survival technique is just to isolate because there's a fear from something that happened in the past that if you actually go out, it's dangerous. It's something. So like
Right.
really if I was to like spend more time with you, we could unravel that. But like there's
Yeah.
something out there that says either I'm not safe, it's dangerous, something that's causing you to
Hmm.
stay isolated, right?
Hmm.
Because there's a fear to go outside of the house. There's
Yeah.
something there.
It didn't feel fearful.
It
It
doesn't
just
have to
felt like, ugh,
feel,
what's
yeah.
the point? Like,
It
I
ha-
don't want to go out again. Like, oh,
yeah,
this is just
it
so
doesn't
much
have to
nicer to stay home.
feel fearful. It's just the
Yeah.
fact that you have lack of motivation, and so that's why we go.
Yeah.
You go back and go, well, what
Exactly.
is that about, right?
Exactly.
Where is that coming
Okay.
from,
So that kind of leads me to the next question. Well, a question for you is, for many, many years, I should have been working with a coach or a therapist or whatever, but I
right?
just never put myself first in that. And I never thought that that was putting myself first. I just never, it just wasn't even a thought. But boy, it was so easy to, and to me, it wasn't the financial aspect, but I thought, oh God, $5,000 for a retreat or whatever. I just sort of cringed. And then I would think, oh, my son needs, this, or my daughter needs this, and it's 5,000, 10,000, and it was
Whatever
no
I'm going to do it.
problema. And so why do you think, for all the women kind of listening who have never really invested in themselves through coaching or retreats, what would you say to that voice inside their head that just says, no, it's not the right time, or, oh, it's kind of a lot of money, or, yeah.
I would say jump in because so I know because I mean I have family members that do this, right? And no matter what, they just won't budge, right? So it's a worthy thing. It comes from feeling worthy that you're worth it. And so you really
Right.
need to go back and look at that. Like for some reason, as moms, we're always doing for our kids. I did the same thing for like years and years and years.
Hmm.
And then had family members make me feel bad for spending money on myself to do this
Yeah.
work, right? So then you got that message in your head, right? And I just stood up for myself anyway. So you have to get to the point where you feel worthy to take a journey for you. Like you really need to get to that point that says, I'm sick of this, like I did. I'm just sick of this and I really don't care how much money it costs. I'm going to do this because the same thing again about the oxygen mask. We need to like, it's not selfish. For some reason, as women, we feel, and not all women, we feel that if we do something for ourselves, it's very selfish. And the world has given that word a bad, bad, it's bad, right? To be selfish, but it's not. Because if we selfishly take care of ourselves, we're so much better to take care of others. So
Hmm.
like if you have a parent that like has no, tolerance for their kid or I mean just I don't know what all the things are, right? But like if you're not listening to your kid and you're just telling them, just to appease them or you're just doing something to, to get them off your back or whatever. But if you really start diving into your stuff and you really take yourself on, you will be such a better parent to be able, remember I told you the generational down and down
Yeah.
and down and down.
Yeah.
You can stop that and you become a parent that like those kids are going to love you so much, not that they don't love you now, but like you change and your parenting changes for the better.
And what you're saying there, it doesn't have to be that, like, it's never too late to go ahead
It's
and do that.
never too late.
Right. So, I mean, I think older kids seeing their mom or their dad getting that help that they knew all along you needed anyway, and getting that help and fixing yourself, not fixing, but like kind of healing and growing and approaching things differently, I think is such a legacy to leave behind. So tell
It
us about
is.
your, yeah, tell
And
us
what I was
about
going
your
to
upcoming
say,
retreat. Oh,
oh
sorry.
yeah, and
Yeah,
what I was
sorry.
going to say is that if you ask your kids, they would have rather you done that work when they were younger.
I know. I know.
If you
And
ask
I
them.
think exactly. But I also, there's no but there. I'm going to repeat that but. I also think that access to help is so, and the stigma behind that is so much more modernized today than it was 20 years ago. And then when you think about our parents who like, oh, she's seeing a therapist, it's like
Mm,
it was taboo, it was like, oh, what's wrong with her? And then, or him.
yeah.
And then often we just get so caught up in our lives that, yeah, I'll get to it. And it was just, to me, it was a lot of work thinking about how was I going to explain the situation? What was sort of, what am I really going to walk away from? Because you don't, like now, Instagram, ChatGPT acts
Yeah.
like people's therapists, because it's
Yeah.
just so more overt.
But really, I mean, if you just like, I have a retreat coming up, right? And I've heard that, the same thing from different women, right? That, I just can't do it right now, right? I mean, some of my really good friends,
Hmm.
I just can't do it right. I can't put that money out for myself right now. I just got this like a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, and it was over text. So I didn't really, I just said, okay, no problem. I'll let you know when the next one is. But really, like, if she was to ask her husband, hey, I really, really want to go to this retreat just for me, I want to take this journey. And so I can be like a better mom, better wife, better whatever, right? A better version of who I am because I just feel really stuck and like a little depressed maybe. I would guarantee that that husband would said, here's the money.
Go. Yeah.
Go,
Go.
go. I'll take care of the
Exactly.
kids.
Yeah.
Go, right?
Yeah.
Because really, like, it's just exhaustion. Everybody can see it when you're not taking care of yourself. Like, they really can see
Totally.
it. Like, my
Yeah.
kids are the ones that tell me, all the time, Mom, like, what are you doing? Your kids are the best resource. They have told me things along the way. Even when my daughter was 13, she would say something to me, and I'm like, it was profound. I'm like, what? They know us very,
Yeah.
very well,
Oh, I
very,
know.
very
I
well.
know. Same with mine. Very, very similar
Yeah.
situation when she was
So I,
13. She was
y-
making observations that were just like,
yeah,
what? Like, where did you get
yeah.
that from?
So
Okay,
I
so
would
let's go
say
on
give
a
yourself
little bit.
permission. Give yourself
Yeah.
permission to take
Yeah,
a journey for
exactly.
you
Exactly.
and ask
So
for
let's
help.
expand a little bit more on those upcoming retreats. What kind of transformation are you hoping women will walk away with? And how, like, tell us a little bit about the retreat. Where is it? How many days is it? And then what kind of transformation do you sort of hope that women will walk away with?
Yeah, so basically it's really just to kind of just walk away from the noise, right? It's a very private, it's a villa in Sonoma County. I'm in Sonoma, California, which is wine country, which is really awesome. And it's
Mhm.
really basically just a sacred space to design, to have clarity and confidence and basically some inner peace. And so the first night is a happy hour where the women just get to know each other because you really have to bond to really be able to open up authentically and vulnerably. So they know that it's a very safe container for them to do this. The next day we do breath work, which is really, really amazing. And we're having meals together, and so of course when you eat together, right, you have community. There's a lot of mindset work and experiential mindset work that happens on Saturday, and then on Sunday there's actually, I coach the women on Sunday for a half day after
Okay.
they've gone through all of this stuff. So basically, they'll
Right.
bring up, something, an issue or something that they're dealing with, right? And then we'll break that down where they actually get to see the transformation so they can really like break free from that before they leave. And then
Okay.
they're offered, we offer a 12 week to continue if they want to do a 12-week program to continue that work, where they
Mhm.
get coached every week in a group setting, or they can do one-on-one coaching or whatever they want, right? So it doesn't stop because that's what I found with people with coaching programs. Once they take a program or they go to a workshop or something, no one ever really
Yeah.
hangs on to it.
There's
I've coached women,
exactly.
back in 2015 that have actually come back to me so we can keep going. Cause I'm like, I asked them the question. I'm like, all the work that you did, like,
Yeah.
what have you done with it? Nothing.
Right. Yeah, no. The integration, that's we were talking about that earlier. Like you have to be consciously integrating it into your life to
Yeah.
make the change kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well,
I'm
Karen,
doing
you
it
have
all the
been
time. I'm working on me all the time, lady. It never
I
stops.
know. It's good.
It
That's
never
good.
stops.
Karen, you've been a real joy. How do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, just Karen Bartholomew. And then also you can find me at KarenBartholomew.com, which is my website. All the information is there for our events. There's some freebies in
Yeah.
there. There's a journal in there you can get, which I totally like say journal, 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 because most of the time we write stuff down. We really get it out on paper and we get to see it. It
Yeah.
looks very different, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to start designing what you want in your life. But yeah, those are the three easiest ways to find me.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here.
Thank you.